for style. All right, hello everybody. How are you doing today? I am Zachary Borja. You should get more of an introduction from me in a second. Here today, you are in my LinkedIn resume workshop, and I have done these every single year since I've been here at PilotCity for the last 3 years. You just sit back, relax, and if you like to follow along on your own LinkedIn and on your own little notepad, that would be great. So for myself, yes, I am Zach Borja. I was a PilotCity partner for about 3 years or so. Currently, I'm now a digital marketing strategist. I have my own company where I do digital marketing and social media stuff for small businesses, nonprofits, and city governments to tell stories essentially on what good work they're doing and showcase those types of stories to people that need to see them. We'll support what they're doing. I do a bunch of random assortment of things too. I am your traditional Bay Area person that does 5 million different things all at the same time. So to go straight into what we're talking about today, we're going to be looking at an introduction, which is myself. Then looking at the LinkedIn usability as to what is LinkedIn, how do you use it, why is it so important, and storytelling as to how to talk about yourself in a way that seems all natural. And after that, we're going to go into portfolio development, which is showcasing your work or your project in a way that looks good in the digital world. After that, we're going to go into professional selfie training. I'm also a photographer, hence my camera quality may be nice looking or not, depending on how Zoom compresses my video. I really don't like when people take selfies on their phones and has that be their professional photos, because that's not it. But we'll work with what we got. And after that, we're gonna go into a breakout session for you to do your own thing in your own time. Alrighty then. So LinkedIn, what is actually LinkedIn? It is the professional version of like Facebook, where people get together and meet each other and talk about, hey, here's the type of work I do. Here's what I'm up to in my world. A lot of people talk about their work, talk about things they're doing in their industry, and it's really, really good if you're trying to develop yourself professionally. When you get on there, this screenshot is from a few months ago, so it may look different now. But overall, when you first get on there, just make your account as you normally would any other software. And if you don't have an account, get one as soon as humanly possible and make some friends on there, because once you get older and you start getting into your actual work life, everybody stalks you. Just like how if you have a friend who's like, oh dude, I got this or do that. I got a new girlfriend / boyfriend and they are awesome. You are going to ask, oh, what's their at? I'm gonna look them up everywhere. Your employer or your client will look you up the same way on LinkedIn to see who you are, what you do, to prove that you are a legitimate human being who is doing everything you say you're doing. So it's super important that you do this. Now, to go into the first look as to what all this is, when you get into the actual search / explore page, you'll actually see a whole bunch of people when you search up literally anybody. And you'll see a first, second, third-esque thing there, hence right here. Third essentially means, hey, you don't directly know this person, but you might somewhere down the line. And it's based off like 6 degrees of separation, where your first is everyone in your direct network. I know my parents, my family, my friends. Your second is that's someone your friends and family may know. Thirds is, those friends of your family and friends, that's their friends. It's just a whole network chain of people that they all know, and you may have a connection with them through some friend or family or associate. And so that's what first, second, third mean. And this is really, really important for you when you're searching around to trying to find certain people. And you can, of course, do search functions and filters and such. It's not too crazy. And for people that you have a super close connection with, you can immediately connect, just like not Zachary Borja. That's totally not me. The one after that is message, and some have a lock, which means they're too far away from you. There's no actual possible connection being made there, or they have a premium account and just not allowing everyone to connect with them. So just note after that. And when you get to your profile, it's not going to look like this at all. It's going to look just blank, because that's how it is. So what you're going to want to do is make it look snazzy. I went and decided to be super extra and build out a cover photo that included some photos of what I've done, as well as my @ on social media and my tagline, which changes every now and then depending on what job or work I'm trying to get into. But at this very moment, my cover photo at least says digital marketing content creator. I recommend making something along those lines, just so you're not the basic image that we have right here, which is my old one that LinkedIn gives you. Just something like this gives a little bit more of a spruced up, interesting look that shows off, hey, this person took at least 5 seconds to do something different than everybody else. You should make sure you build a interesting headline, which is, I am working in this industry, so I am a digital marketer. I am a mechanical engineer. If you are not doing any of those things yet, but you would like to, you should say, I am an aspiring agricultural specialist. I am an aspiring programmer, etc. and so on, whatever you like it to be. Some people flex their companies in there. Don't be that guy or girl who does that, because that's not the best. Don't say, I am an innovator who's looking for entrepreneurs to grow their businesses. That is super spammy. Don't do that. Now your about section, which isn't pictured here, but you'll see it in your profile, it's a little bit lower. That is where you tell your story about who you are and what you do and why you do it. Keep it 2 to 3 sentences. You don't need to go too excessive with that piece. And profiles with pictures, as quoted by LinkedIn, receive 21 times more profile views and up to 36 more messages. Only because would you rather look at a profile with no picture or one with a picture? I think one with a picture. So just make sure this top section is like super clean and super up to date with everything you want. And you can even include like, I'm looking for work in different types of areas. I'm offering these types of services in these different areas. So you can add those things as you'd like to. Now, experiences. This segment is where you really flex yourself and talk about all the wonderful things you've done in your life. Ironically enough, I have yet to have updated those last 2 bottom pieces, so don't do that. But what you should do is the top piece. That's my current line of work. Blue Eris, LLC. It's a digital marketing company. Everyone will like look through this, and if they're really trying to figure out who you are and what you do, they're gonna read all these lines. So just make sure they represent you well, and just make sure you do bullet points. The most annoying thing is people put a whole essay, just like a block of text. No one wants to read that just because it's excessive. Personally, I put the line of work that the company does. So I give like a 1-sentence, a 1-liner as to what my project does or what my company does. I previously had PilotCity, and I gave its brief as to what PilotCity did when I was working there. And I gave 4 bullet points as to what I did there. And if you have any documents or links to anything, you should definitely include it as an attachment at the bottom. If you did any work with PilotCity, for example, like your current project may be doing, you can actually include the link to your website, any links to a GitHub you might be working on, or anything along those lines, just in that bottom bit. And the general structure you should be going for when you write your bullet points is action word, and then a thing you did and a result it created. And you should definitely always try to include numerics. For example, I did not do it amazingly here, but what you should do is like develop implement campaigns for 45 different social-oriented organizations. Including numerics shows that you actually are following things in a goal-oriented way and not just doing it to do it, but you're doing it to come up with some sort of solution in the end. So if you're a salesperson, you would say contacted over 200 leads on a monthly basis with a 25% closing rate, which basically means talk to 200 people and sold to 25% of them. Good job. Just write that down, because that's super important that you list these things out. And that's just an example. And of course, if you want to, you can also look at my LinkedIn, which is just Zachary Borha. And for the editor, you should totally put my name all in sparkles right here. Yeah, so you should definitely take a look at it, and you can reference mine as examples, or find someone you know. If you have a employer working with and you remember their name, check them out on LinkedIn, see what their profile looks like. If you have a celebrity, that maybe not a celebrity, but a business in your city that's super influential, find out who owns it and look at their profile, see what they've got on there. Now for education, this might be more relevant to a lot of you since you are students. You should include everything you've done with regards to your school, which if you're in college, add your college. If you're in high school, add your high school. And don't include your elementary or middle school or kindergarten. General rule of thumb when you're building out your resume or your anything at all, actually, if it's education-based, high school to college. If it's experience-based, only the last 4 to 5 years on your resume. On your LinkedIn, you can include everything from forever, just because it's not an official document, but we'll go into details later on the portfolio bit. But so for your education, include any associations. So myself, I was a marketing director of Collegiate DECA, right? Some of you may know what DECA is. If you were part of the K Club, I believe that's still a thing, just say, yes, I was a member at the Key Club, or I was the president of Key Club. Perhaps you were a member of a dancing group. Totally include that. It might be just super interesting to have that there. Make sure when you post anything on LinkedIn, you actually tag the organization. So it has this nice little logo here. I've had some people actually post tag a place but not actually have a logo there, so it looks not official at all. So make sure you tag the right place. And if you happen to take any online classes, certifications, do include that here, just because it's super nice looking to say you've got certification at Google for marketing or at HubSpot for CRM, right? Something along those lines, just include it and the date as well. Now, licenses. Not all of you will have this piece here, but if you do, totally include it. This will be the part where you include the certifications. Just to go back a little bit on that thing. This one, include your colleges, high schools, and official organizations. Certifications can include if you took a licensing exam for, I don't know, real estate or insurance, like I have, or if you have a CPR life support certification, include that. You would be surprised. A lot of places actually do want that to be on your resume and actually on your LinkedIn. So it's actually kind of important to have that there. Don't put your driver's license. That's a pretty common thing that most employers and organizations will assume you already have. Plus, if you put your number there, they can use information and steal your identity. But any online certification that can be proven, included here. That's the main thing. Now, volunteer. Anything you've done for free, put it on here. Yeah, because there's a lot of places that maybe you volunteered for a day at somewhere. Maybe you volunteered at a local church to do like food packaging. Just put it there and make it 1 month. So January 2020 to February 2020 is what I would do, for example. Anything that you've done that could align with your line of work, just put it here completely. And so I would recommend for this one as well, bullet point it and make sure you just build it out the same way you would in your normal experience pieces. And if you can say you worked there for a few months, that is great, even if it was on and off. Like me with this organization right here, this was completely on and off. I was an ambassador there. I went to their meetings every now and then to talk about what they're up to and spread their word and go to a few events, but I wasn't there all the time. I was there on like a monthly, bi-monthly basis. Still wasn't too active, but I still put it there because I worked with them and they can reference me if someone asks me questions. Also, don't lie, especially not on this, so people can find out. Now, skills. This is one of the lower pieces on the actual LinkedIn page. So for this one, you can put a maximum of 50 skills. So put as many as you can that are relevant to you. And just know people can endorse these skills. Sadly enough, I only have done endorsements. So if you have any friends who are also building out this LinkedIn with you, totally have them endorse your skills and whatever you're good at. If you are super good at like social media, boom, put that as a skill and have everyone endorse it so it shows up at the top 3 right there. And just know you can also take skill quizzes to confirm, hey, I actually legitimately know this skill. So if you are good at social media, for example, you can actually take a quiz on LinkedIn that certifies, yes, this person is good at social media. I would say have as many as you can that are relevant nowadays, because there are a few that are a bit outdated, but just keep them up to date occasionally. Cool beans for skills. Now, recommendations. Recommendations, it's essentially like it is a letter recommendation, except a digital version. You can give as many as you like to, and you can receive as many as people give you. As you can see, I've got 4 pending requests. I've actually got 6 now. I need to get to those. And on that note, if someone sends me a recommendation request and it's blank, I am 99% chance not going to do it. And if you have a boss or a mentor or a teacher or a PilotCity mentor who is teaching you or assisting you, and you just say, oh, can you please recommend me on LinkedIn? And you say, that's it, they're probably gonna forget about it, maybe. Unless you say, hey, can you recommend me and say something along the lines of my skills in marketing, along my skills in public speaking, along my skills in sales, right? Whatever it may be. Then they'll say, oh, I totally can do that. I remember you're good at X, Y, Z. So just be super like detailed when you're asking for these recommendations, because it's the only way people actually want to do it. Now, accomplishments. For this bit, they're slowly kind of phasing this piece out on LinkedIn. So just, it's gonna be at the very, very bottom. Might be hard to miss. Courses, I would include any courses you've taken at any schools. Those previous certifications, add those here too. Any courses and classes that are relevant to what you're trying to pursue, just drop them in. Languages, if you speak and understand any language, put them in here. And when I say speak and understand, I mean like actually speak and understand, not just, I can speak a few words. No, like if you can actually do it, put it on. Organizations, this one's kind of bare bones now. I personally only put in the organizations area. I'm associated with this place. I don't work there. I'm not volunteering there, but I'm a part of them. Like say Leander Rotary, for example. I'm a part of them. I come to their meetings occasionally. That goes in organizations / associations, just because I'm a part of it. Now, projects at the very bottom, people don't often look at this piece, but if you have any projects, for example, your PilotCity project, you can drop it in here and write a whole brief about what you did, who was involved with it, and drop in a link to the page. All right, to summarize this piece on LinkedIn before I move on to the next segment, please be direct, look informative. Make sure you talk about all these pieces in a way that makes sense and add details to it, right? So again, when you're writing your experience, your volunteer pieces, make sure you say numerics as well as what you did and what it accomplished. Again, I'll give another example. Let's say you made these awesome headphones. You can say worked with a engineering team of 5 others to create headphones that reduced noise by 50% for the wearer. That's an example. Or if you were the sales team for these headphones, you can say sold headphone. It's gonna be not the best, by the way, with the way I'm describing right now, but you can make it sound nicer. I recommend using a thesaurus or Google to find some synonym words that sound nice. Okay, so be direct but informative. I sold these sold Wise headphones within a quarter period. Sold 200 units of headphones in my store, which was higher than every other branch within San Leandro. You make it sound nicer. And honestly, any job can sound nice. Like I made a janitor, there was a janitor I was working with to do his resume, and I called him a sanitation engineer, just to let you know. So you can make anything sound nice. You just need to actually figure out what you're trying to get into and what's a good synonym for whatever word you're doing or whatever word you're talking about. And just to let you know, update your profile every 6 months or whenever something crazy happens in your career. And make sure you leverage your connections and people you know, which can be friends, family, mentors, anyone you know like that, to build these things out. And honestly, like I'm about to pay a company to help me with LinkedIn to get me some new business. And apparently they get people like thousands of dollars worth of business through LinkedIn. And I know some people who just don't even do any marketing, nothing on social media, nothing anywhere. And all they do is contact people on LinkedIn, and they make hundreds of thousands actually. A cool thing, if you guys know what SEO is that keywords and such. So if you're using the words marketing, if you're using the words engineering, if you're using the word sales, I'm just saying stuff I know, it will show up when people Google Zachary Borja, engineering. Oh crap, it shows up. This guy does this stuff. Crazy. Awesome part, you can also export your resume. Export your LinkedIn profile as a resume. So you don't actually have to build a resume anymore, just export LinkedIn and it shows up as a PDF. That's crazy, right? So now we're gonna go straight into storytelling and skills, which to most people, that doesn't mean anything, because why do I need to be a storyteller or all this stuff if I'm a coder? It doesn't matter to me or an accountant or a mathematician, because I just need to look at numbers. Well, surprise, you need to do presentations every day of your life, no matter where you are. When you're talking to somebody, you need to make yourself sound nice, right? When you're trying to get a job, you're gonna be selling yourself. So you need to work on how to tell your story and how to showcase yourself in the best light ever. And in this case, here we go. I basically said the same thing anyways, right? Let's say you're trying to write your about or your bio piece for your LinkedIn, or you're having to write a bio piece for like an event you're going to and you're a speaker. You should always have these things in mind, right? Like, how do you recognize yourself? What do people think of you when they hear your name, and what do they associate with you? But for example, when people talk to me in my city in San Leandro, people say, oh, Zach, it's the social media guy. If you want anything in photography or social media, talk to this guy. That's my brand. I've told my story to literally everybody in that way of, if you need anything in those areas, talk to me, right? And the important thing here is that when you're talking to anybody or writing anything or preparing any documents, you should always keep these things in mind. Honestly, if you're gonna ignore me this whole time, you should legit just pay attention to one piece and just keep this in mind. And it's who are you writing for, which is who's your audience? Who are you? What do you do? Who do you do it for? What do they need or want? And how they change the result? Those last 5 or 6 questions out there from a really cool TED Talk that I don't have the link to right now. But yeah, so let's say you're trying to talk to a organization and you're trying to work at, like, you just applied there and you have an interview. Everything in that conversation should have something along the lines of like building who you're talking to, right? So who are you talking to and who are you trying to sell to? You're trying to sell to a new boss or potential boss. Who are you? Ah, yes, I am me. And then you talk about yourself. What do you do? Let's say you're trying to work as a coder. I am a coder that specializes in machine learning. Can be me. And I do it for businesses that need assistance with expanding their systems for automation. And what do they need or want? Well, actually, they kind of said they need automation systems so they can smooth and optimize their entire workflow for the entire company. Ba-boom, right? And have they change the results? Make money, or they lose less money. And honestly, if you follow this format for anything you write or talk about, honestly, work pretty well. What I'd say for myself, if I'm meeting like a new client at an event, of course I'd ask, so who are you, right? And what's your whole thing? Then then they would tell me their spiel. And let's say, for example, they're a super cool tech company. Wow. I would say, oh, nice. Yeah, I'm Zach. I do digital marketing for small businesses and startups, actually. And I do all this work to tell their story and make sure that they can actually be found by the people who need to see them, which often enough can be their early stage adopters who just haven't yet seen their new product that's soon to come to market. And boom, I've catered my entire pitch to exactly what that person was telling me. And suddenly I thought, hey, I know some of those buzzwords. I know early stage. I know early adopters. That's me. This person's totally relatable. Now, word optimization. I told you about this earlier. Wow. Yes, anything can sound better. I use a cash register. Ba-boom. No, you didn't. You facilitated online transactions. You work for McDonald's, by the way. You can totally say, I use a cash register at McDonald's. No, you facilitated on-site transactions for a multi-billion-dollar food service organization. That's crazy. Super exaggerated, but it's true. Stacked shelves? I don't think so. You maintained inventory and kept detailed records. By the way, these came on the fly when I was writing these a long time ago. And there's the wonderful janitor to sanitation engineer. Ba-boom, right? So yeah, legit anything can sound better if you just take the time to think about it and figure out, all right, what am I trying to go into? Okay, skills. What's an experiencing skill? When you're trying to find skills for yourself, people often can't think of anything. And I totally get it because it's super hard to talk about yourself. So these are some of the things I kind of ask people to prompt their thoughts around a potential skill. So what experience can you share where you made your money? Maybe you sold headphones in high school to other people. I did that. I went to Ross and I bought headphones and we sold them to kids at high school. It was crazy. That right there, that's a sales skill. That's upselling. What do you do in your spare time? You play games? Maybe you're super computer literate because you'd be surprised a lot of people don't know how to use computers in the corporate world. It's not the best, but you are. You're computer literate is what we call it. Are you clubs and programs at school? Maybe in that club you're actually you're a fundraising person. Fundraising is a super important skill that a lot of people actually need. Perhaps you go to the events and such and just table them. I would say you're really good at communication at that point then. Maybe you're really good at recruiting. That's another really awesome skill. You can run through each of these things and kind of figure out, oh, I actually have a really good skill in X that I never thought of. E-portfolio. Yeah, this is essentially showing off your work and such. I've got a portfolio. I can show it off later on. Really where you tell your story and showcase your entire process and you super go in details as to what you're doing because that's allowed and important. So with some portfolio examples here, this page looks kind of like a mess, but I will walk you through it. So some good eye-catching imagery here, right? Wow, look at that. That looks super insane. Perhaps if you're a designer, you might want to show off, oh, look, I made this really nice design. Just make it your hero image, what they call just basically the header image, right? And just show it off. And this on your e-portfolio is where you really flex and show off all of your work. Of course, all your good work only, by the way. And over here, I really recommend people, this is where you go and show off your work and rather than just tell about it. But of course, it can change depending on the person, right? So rather than say in this piece, someone who's not as awesome could have said, I created a design of a horse to rebrand the entirety of Azerbaijan. Why do that when you can just show off some of the imagery you've made for the campaign? And I'd recommend also in your portfolio, you have unified imagery, which basically means make sure all the images and all the copy and everything is aligned with regards to how it looks. Like for example, this presentation, all blue. Every single slide has the same design elements, which in this case is the arrows, which is these weird dot things. It's the blue color and the gray copy / text. It'd be a mess if I had every single page was like a different color, like red, green, then blue, then black, and whatever, right? You don't do that. And whenever you're also explaining your process, you can go into details on it, right? And you can explain the context too, because once you've shown off your imagery and you've shown off all the material you have, people don't mind reading into the actual background. So let's say for this campaign, they actually did rebrand the entirety of Azerbaijan, which maybe they would also include in the brief about it. Azerbaijan needed a complete rebrand for some new ideas they had for economic development. We wanted to bring in new businesses, new organizations, and recreate the city in a new way no one's ever seen, right? So include that information as to why this thing is even occurring, why even bother with this project. Include background, is what I'm trying to say. Bad things to do. If you do this, I'll be sad. Stock imagery, that it's super obvious that it's stock imagery. You know what I'm talking about. You go on those sites where, oh yes, this totally looks like a scam website. You do not want to have that look. Try to use custom images as much as possible. If you're going to use stock images, just make sure they look not corny and they look acceptable. And when I say copy, copy means text. And make sure copy just actually means something and it's not just copy for the sake of copy. You know, don't make a whole paragraph if it doesn't need to be there. And they tell rather than show off their process, and they, rather than show off how awesome their work is, they talk about how awesome their work is, and no one wants to read all of that, especially if it doesn't look that interesting. Okay, portfolio resources. If you're going to be building off your website and you don't know how to code at all, use Wix/Squarespace. If you know a little bit about web development, you might want to consider using WordPress or perhaps Webflow. There's some cool resources for you. For presentations or graphics, use Canva. If you are super skilled or just mildly skilled, Photoshop, Illustrator, what I have on the bottom, Lightroom, InDesign. Derek loves InDesign. He uses it for literally all of his work. For prototyping and any app development, you might want to use Adobe XD/Figma. Those just might sound familiar for some of you. And the last one, which is super quickly, is a professional selfie. Make sure you master your tone. If you're trying to be edgy and just like super serious, you want to look straight at the camera, like this sort of thing, right? And make sure it matches how your personality is. If you're trying to go for more of a professional look, like Steve Jobs-esque kind of thing, go for it. That's totally fine. Just make sure everything matches it. Portfolio, gotta match that modernized, super professional look. Casual and just happy and relaxed kind of thing. Everything should match that too. Hence my freaking Hawaiian shirt, right? What a guy. So just keep that in mind when you're taking any photos and doing any branding work for yourself. Just make sure everything falls in line with that. Things to keep in mind when you're taking your photos, make sure your lighting is controlled. I myself am using a super cheap Amazon light I've got for free because I was an influencer for a day on some platform. But if you don't have any lights, you could even use your cell phone lighting. Just don't make it super harsh. I recommend having some sort of like cloth to go over it to diffuse. Diffuse just basically means make the light less bright. And it just softens the look of light on yourself. Or maybe you might want to use a reflector, which basically means you'll, that's a credit card, I can't use that. You might want to use like a piece of paper to reflect the lights rather than just have this thing incinerate my skin. Perhaps just have this piece of paper here and reflect the light onto my skin. You may not see it here, but it actually works pretty well if you use a bright enough light and aim it at yourself. I can do it better if I had time to do it. And another thing you might want to do is just go outside and just use the sunlight. If you're going for more of a orange tinge-ish light, go outside at 4 to 6 p.m. and get the golden hour look. A lot of people do that and it looks super, super nice. That's for more of a dramatic look, honestly, but you can look around and see what works best for you. There's a famous image going around right now. It's a bit of a meme where they have the light facing on the dude and it looks like this. Happier look, evil look. Just keep that in mind. If you do this lighting, I will laugh at you. So just keep that in mind. Camera angle, if you're going to be doing a selfie style, I recommend getting a selfie stick. I got this on not Amazon, actually somewhere else for about 10 bucks. Just get a selfie stick. They're super cheap now. Stick this thing in and just keep it straight out. And honestly, take your photo this way and then also this way. So you get two resolutions and keep it out as far away as you can, just because your iPhone, if you're using an iPhone, will distort the way your face looks in the front-facing camera. The back-facing camera, not so much. Just keep that in mind. And your background, keep it in mind with your brand. If you're going for more of a modern look, a white background is perfectly fine. If you're more of a crazy person like me, orange works, I guess, right? And just keep it simple. If you have like a mess of things in your background, like you've got posters, anime figures, magazines and stuff in the background, it's not going to look the best. Especially people can point out, hey, that thing is that you've got like those magazines in the background. It's not the best. So I recommend having a bokeh effect, which basically means the background is blurred out to make sure it's not in focus and the focus is directly on you as an individual, or it's good clear background. And your face angle, when you're taking your photos, I recommend people tilt their heads up just a little bit towards the camera and move it left or right, depending on what's your good side. This is not my good side. This, to keep that in mind when you're taking your photos. A lot of people will just do straight on like this though, but whatever works best for you. You got time, just take a selfie from home, whatever. Or have someone take the photo for you. That's actually quite better. Some examples. I hate these photos. And they're stock images, as you can see by the gigantic Shutterstock logo. If you take the photo, like the first dude, 2 hands, makes it look like that, by the way. And it's also super close, is why you do that weird, creepy effect where his nose is gigantic. The one where it's the second dude, That is actually more so, it's because it's taken from a little bit away and it's using back camera. It's also taking it, just keep that in mind. You can also edit the photos in post because, again, there is distortion because this front-facing camera does the fisheye effect. Just undistort that if using Photoshop or Lightroom. General Q&A. Wow. Can't ask that because it's recorded. You can ask your PilotCity team for this bit. So there you go. If you have any questions, ask them. Or you can DM me on Discord, LinkedIn, not Facebook, all that good stuff. If you have any questions, if you want me to, send me a profile, add me on LinkedIn. My name is pretty simple, Zachary Borja. Hey, editor, just put it right here. Right? Yeah, you can totally add me. I'm cool with it. I'll gladly look at your profile if you want to add me and just have me endorse some skills, or you want to chat a little bit. I'm totally down for that. And I build resumes for money on the spare time. So I would definitely be glad to build out resumes and assist with this as well. Not maybe, or maybe not for a price. Anyways, that was LinkedIn Workshop. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you mildly learned something. I hope I didn't talk too long because this was like 45 minutes, maybe or less. Anyways, take care. Good luck with your LinkedIn profiles and also with your PilotCity projects. Goodbye, everybody.